Imagine entering a world similar to your own every night when you sleep, getting met with tall, terrifying, dark creatures and having to evade them for 7 hours straight with other people you don't really know at first in the same position as you. Can you do it? While trying to figure out what it all means and how to stop it? Especially when this horrifying nightmare doesn't exactly end when you wake up. This is exactly what Ashlyn, Aiden, his cousin Ben, Logan, and the twins, Tyler and Taylor, go through every day once the clock strikes 12 a.m. in the Webtoon series School Bus Graveyard by Red. I had the pleasure of staying up until 3 a.m. one day this past week reading School Bus Graveyard on Webtoon for the first time. I have known about this story for years now, and even with an interesting premise, I never gravitated towards it, but I was desperate for something to read, and it couldn't have hurt, right? Right! I was in Spain without the S. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This channel is shared and run by two twin sisters, so I'll be your host, Star. This will be my second ever Webtoon review of this channel, and after the disaster time I had with The Fate, wow, coming up on 2 years now, I needed a good time, and this series delivered it. This story opens up with Ashlyn. Up to this point, she has always been alone and prefers it this way, despite her parents' wishes for her to make friends. Against her preference, she is paired with 5 other teens, Aiden, Ben, Logan, Tyler, and Taylor, for a school project, and after being annoyed by one of the new kids, Aiden, who wants to become friends with her, she joins the field trip and goes to a haunted house that leads all 6 teens to be trapped in a world every night, parallel to theirs, but the twist is this nightmarish world is filled with supernatural monsters. And that's not their only problem, because their world and this monster one is connected. Any wounds they sustain in the monster one won't visibly appear in the real one, but you sure will feel the pain until night strikes once more and the wounds come back. Now these teens must figure out what is happening to them while trying to survive, because the alternative is surely death. Red wastes no time to jump into this world. Right from the first chapter, you see the sky is red, the characters running through the woods frantically with weapons in their hands. Something is chasing them, and their objective is to get through to the school bus graveyard, their protective barrier from the monsters. Oh, by the way, the monsters of this world do have a name, courtesy of Ashlyn, but the name does have a meaning, and reading the reasoning behind it, although it brings up more questions, really is fun and interesting to know. So I'll leave it to you to find out. Because one of the great things about this webtoon, due to the confusion of what's going on in the first couple of chapters and the tension that builds throughout the series, left such an enjoyable reading experience that at the time, I knocked out 72 chapters in one sitting while laying down in bed. Paired with reading this at night, purely heightened the experience even more. I don't want to take away that feeling for y'all, so I'm going to keep this review light and strongly encourage you to run and read this series. Even though the romance genre dominates on Webtoon, if you're a horror fan, you got selections of series to read. I've read plenty myself, and what I found is that a lot of the series really utilize blood and gore, high death counts, crazy and manic villains, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but School Bus Graveyard does take another approach with this horror storytelling, a typical but not crazy in your face way. While it does have its slight minimal bloody moments, I mean, how could you not when you are up against these monsters? The story is crafted well around suspenseful moments, making the weekly cliffhangers more impactful. Though I binge read 72 episodes across season 1 and 2, I couldn't imagine waiting a week or more after certain moments that happened, particularly after the season 1 finale. Man, having to wait for a year and slightly over a month to see what was going to happen had to be brutal for those who did. As the webcomic is currently on a short break, at least when I'm writing this, who knows by now if the video comes out, the cliffhangers are definitely inhumane, honestly. It's criminal to be a fan of something that isn't finished, because all you can think about is what the hell is going to happen next. Through the suspenseful cliffhangers, the fact that just as much as the characters, we are kept in the dark about the mysteries of this other world, so we unlock answers alongside them, especially because of the non-linear storytelling in the first couple of chapters. And with the music that appears during certain tense chapters of the series, heightens the fear and dread I felt when moving on to the next chapter, making it hard hard to put the story down. The dark and eerie setting of this monster world, the isolated atmosphere you and the characters feel, given that other than the monsters, you're alone there. In addition to simple yet creepy depictions of said monsters and various forms they come in, further evoke that sense of horror. Like I said, it's not groundbreaking within the genre, but the pair of everything comes together well to make an effective story. A big part of that even happening is due to the cast of characters, which I absolutely love so much. God, it's gonna hurt not explaining things in detail because their progressions, at least for specific characters in my opinion, is what makes this so well done, but you have to read this because reading that progression is just another brownie point towards this story. It's not even just how they progress forward in the story, but for characters like Ben, while it might feel like other than gaining experience through survival, they kind of are the same way that they started. When you learn more about their backstory, it adds complexity to their character other than just being known as the mute character of the bunch. It makes their lives in both worlds even more shitty because they can't just catch a break because they are awake for 7 hours. They're not getting sleep, duh. Adding on to that dread of living their real lives without adding suspicion onto themselves and how they're going to survive the night in the other world once more. Even in later chapters, when they have been doing this for months now, all of it is still new. It doesn't get easier as new problems arise. It is great that alongside the darker moments, Red lightens the mood through comedic moments, primarily through the characters' interaction, especially when they were still getting to know each other and their personalities kept clashing. But once their dynamic, different as it is, ends up working out, the small, funny, or sweet moments of bliss just adds on to the sorrow I felt whenever they had to go back to the other world. Like, damn, they're just kids. Give them a break. Though they all have their funny moments, Aiden is funny and seriously unhinged, with him pestering Ashlyn when they first meet, or his concerning reaction when meeting the monsters the first time. I knew he was gonna be a character I was gonna like instantly. Their clear defining differences in the beginning of the story should make their relationships not work. Like Ashlyn being introverted and wanting to be alone, Aiden being more extroverted, persistent, and lacking boundaries, Ben being mute, probably the most level-headed person there, but goes along with whatever his cousin Aiden does anyways. Logan's shy and soft-spokenness gets him being used by bullies at their school. Tyler's rude and outspokenness towards others, but sweetness and protectiveness towards his sister. And Taylor's kind attentiveness and ability to comfort characters at their weakest moments. Their forced situation being the school project and then later being in this world together gives them plenty of time to form a genuine connection. Through highlighting a trait of theirs in their best and worst defining moments in the story just makes that eventual connection stronger. For example, Ashlyn and Tyler argue a lot in the story or call each other out on their behavior, and Red doesn't shy away from having these arguments during tense moments either, but it just straightens later moments when they get closer because you get to see that progression which is still going. Because I won't say that call-outs don't happen in later chapters, but it's not attached or implied out of distrust or anger. I won't end this quick review without talking about the art style. As someone who draws herself and wants to make my own webcomic, check out my Sisters and I art channel, linked down below if you want to see my art, or check out my last video on this channel about the Teen Titans lineup where I show the progression of me redrawing a screenshot from a panel in Batman's Wayne Family Adventure, another webcomic on Webtoons. I want to personally work on a fan art piece for this webtoon sometime soon. If I finish the drawing before I edit this video, maybe the speed paint has been playing this whole time. If not, stalk my socials in my card linked below to see when that ever drops. But anyways, I draw and I want to talk about Red's art style just very briefly. Webtoons, especially originals, have the typical anime or manhwa art style. Of course, not all, but it's a distinct style you'll find when reading most webtoons. I think that's why I really love the canvas section because of the mix that you'll spot. With School Bus Graveyard, it's a simpler and stylistic style. Thick and black outer lines with inside line art being a bit more closer to the base or flat colors it's on top of, and almost no shading of any kind, or like very, very minimal. The simplicity adds on to the fast pacing of the story because it's less details to look at, and adds on to the expressiveness of the character's reaction, especially in tenser moments. Even more so when music and animated panels are incorporated every so often. More so the music, which is made by the co-creator of Purple Hyacinth, another popular webtoon. It's elements like this that gets your heart pounding, concerned by what is going to happen next. With its unique art style, exciting and heart-racing plot, easily fond of characters and terrifying monsters, I highly suggest reading this horror webcomic, School Bus Graveyard, especially now with it being on hiatus. At least by the time that I'm writing this, you have time to catch up with the thrills of all of its currently, at the time that I'm writing this, 72 free chapters on Webtoon. Yeah, so that's the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Yeah, check our art channel, link is linked down below. Also check out our online store. Pretty please, pretty please, pretty please. Yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. Jen and I will see you in another video. Stay safe, stay cool, because it's really freaking hot outside now. And yeah, peace. Bye, guys.
Go read School Bus Graveyard right now!